where Kyle Richards and Morgan Wade's relationship stands today. Kyle Richards and her country music singer BFF, Morgan Wade, are closer than ever these days. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast member first met the singer after hearing her song, Wilder Days, on the radio, and their bond only seems to be getting stronger with each and every month. While Kyle prefers to keep their friendship a bit more private these days, more on that below, she is still able to show support for the singer when she can. In March, the friends traveled all across Europe together, while Morgan performed for international audiences, and Kyle supported her from the audience. Together, they explored the canals of Amsterdam, dined on local cuisines, and hung out at a pub in Ireland. Kyle took to briefing on Bravo on April 8, where she talked more about this trip, noting that Morgan's tour brought her to places she had never been before. "I always love Paris, I love Amsterdam, I love London," she noted. "I had not been to Manchester or Scotland or Dublin before, and everyone was so nice. They were all great, such a different feeling in each place." Kyle Richards clarifies her situation with Morgan Wade. Although Kyle introduced Morgan to viewers during RHOBH Season 13, Kyle remained tight-lipped about her friendship with the Wilder Days singer throughout RHOBH Season 14. During the trip to Street Lucia in RHOBH Season 14, Episode 16, cast member Garcelle Beauvais told Kyle that she felt like the cast was tiptoeing around talking about Morgan. "We don't know what the situation is, if you're being supported in that way, and therefore we can back off," Garcelle said. "There is no situation there," Kyle noted. "That's all I have. One day, maybe I'll have a great story to share with you guys. Maybe I will, maybe I don't." Kyle reiterated this during a November episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills after show, noting that she was trying to be as honest as she could be about her friendship this season. "All the tabloids, all the stories out there, I know there's a lot of curiosity about the person they always talk about. I'm not using her name intentionally. I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf except my own. But right now, there's nothing to say," she said. "I mean, I wish I had some story to say, but that's just not what it is." In October 2024, Kyle opened up to briefing on Bravo about public commentary on the friendship. "I've been called so many names. People weigh in on arguments on the show, even though they don't know the backstory. People have speculated about my marriage and my tie," she said. "I let most of it go, but sometimes you're like, come on, give me a break." However, she noted she doesn't care to correct people anymore, stating, "You're free to think what you want about me." How did Kyle Richards meet Morgan Wade? It all started with Morgan's 2021 song, Wilder Days, which Kyle had heard on the radio. "And then I went to all the others," Kyle previously recalled, "and I was like, wow, this girl's really blowing me away with her voice in the lyrics." This led to Kyle doing a little bit of investigating on social media. "And I looked her up on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I don't know the tattoos and everything. I wasn't expecting that," she added. "So I followed her, and then I kept listening to her music on, like, repeat. And then she sent me a DM asking me why I was following her." Morgan was just a little perplexed by Kyle's follow. "I just didn't expect someone from Beverly Hills, you know?" Morgan added of her friendship with Kyle, "My friends freaked out." Kyle continued to speak about her initial connection to Morgan during RHOBH Season 13, Episode 11. "Initially, I was drawn to Morgan by her music," she explained in the episode. "Morgan's lyrics really spoke to me because she was just so raw and open and honest and just putting it all out there. And I admire that in someone, especially someone who has struggled with that myself. I appreciate that quality in someone." How Kyle Richards supports Morgan Wade's music career. Music was the thing that connected Kyle to Morgan, so naturally, she's very invested in her music career. Kyle loves attending Morgan's concerts, where she watches from afar. During a recent trip to the United Kingdom, Kyle took to her Instagram story, where she posted a selfie alongside Morgan's European tour opener, Carly Scott Collins, and shared a bird's-eye view of Morgan's performance from the balcony. During her April 8 briefing on Bravo Stream, Kyle noted that Morgan's London performance was amazing. Kyle loves listening to Morgan's music. In March, Kyle took to her Instagram story, where she revealed that Morgan's new song, East Coast, had been on repeat for her. She further talked about this during a March 14 briefing on Bravo Stream. "It is such a beautiful song," she said. "So beautiful. Yes, it's sad, but some of her songs are sad, but they're so beautiful." In August 2023, Kyle appeared in a music video for Morgan's song, Fall in Love with Me, which featured her as Morgan's love interest. Kyle addressed this during Part 3 of the RHOBH Season 13 reunion. "I didn't really know the creative behind it until I got there," she explained. "And I said to the director, I've never actually, kissed anybody on camera, let alone a woman or off camera. So I was very nervous and anxious." See Morgan Wade's tattoo in honor of Kyle Richards. Morgan is just as supportive of Kyle as Kyle is to her. During RHOBH Season 13, Episode 6, Morgan joined Kyle as she got a brand new tattoo. After Kyle got hers done by a professional, Morgan let Kyle tattoo her with a surprise drawing. This resulted in Kyle inking a K on Morgan's bicep, which the singer was very pleased with. "You know what? No one else can say they've been tattooed by Kyle Richards," Morgan noted during the episode. Kyle Richards defends not talking about Morgan Wade on RHOBH Season 14. In spite of Morgan briefly being on RHOBH Season 13, Kyle has continued to defend why her friend didn't make an appearance on RHOBH Season 14. "Morgan did not sign up for this show," Kyle said during the RHOBH Season 14 reunion Part 1. "She does not want to be part of it. She's not part of the cast." Kyle recalled that Morgan had a lot of anxiety after appearing on the show. "She didn't ask for this life," she continued. "So I'm trying to be respectful of somebody who didn't sign up for it." During Part 2 of the RHOBH Season 14 reunion, Kyle said that she regretted introducing Morgan on RHOBH. "You're right in the sense that I brought her into this," she noted. "And I feel guilty about that because it causes her anxiety and she doesn't want to be a part of that." Wilder Hearts, a story of Kyle and Morgan. The March wind was cooler than expected in Dublin, but Kyle Richards didn't mind. Wrapped in a wool coat and balancing a coffee in one hand and her phone in the other, she stood just outside the tour bus, watching as Morgan Wade tuned her guitar inside the venue. It had been 3 days since they arrived in Ireland, and each one had felt both freeing and grounding. Just 2 women on the road, no cameras, no scripts, no expectations, just music, laughter, and long walks under soft gray skies. From Beverly Hills to backstage grunge, the contrast might have seemed surreal to an outsider, but to Kyle, it made perfect sense. Their bond had been unexpected. Kyle had first heard Morgan's raspy, soul-strung voice on the radio while driving back from a late shoot for The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Wilder days drifted through the car like a whisper, and something about the lyrics tugged at her, anchoring her to something she couldn't quite name yet. It wasn't just the song. It was the honesty, the kind that came from living through it, not writing around it. A few clicks later, Kyle was following Morgan on Instagram. 2 days after that, Morgan followed back. What followed was a quiet, almost cinematic evolution. A DM turned into a phone call became dinner. Then came shared playlists, wine in mismatched glasses, tattoos on spontaneous afternoons, and confessions spoken into the silence between city lights. But it wasn't always easy. The public eye and private truths. By the time Morgan made her first RHOBH appearance in Season 13, Kyle was already bracing herself. She'd been part of the Bravo universe long enough to know how quickly speculation snowballed, and how exhausting it could be to correct people who weren't really listening. And yet, there Morgan was, sitting at the center of a conversation that had nothing to do with her music and everything to do with assumptions. "Why won't she just say it?" fans tweeted. "What's the big secret? Are they or aren't they?" Kyle had heard it all. She'd read the think pieces and felt the shift in the energy whenever Morgan's name came up in cast interviews. But something in her had shifted too. She no longer felt the need to explain herself to the world. "People are free to think what they want," she told the RHOBH after show, offering a tight-lipped smile. "But not everything needs to be defined for the cameras." Europe and everything between. Their trip through Europe had been a reset, a break from the Beverly Hills bubble and a return to something more organic. In Amsterdam, they biked through narrow lanes, Morgan wobbling comically as Kyle shouted, "Use the bell," behind her. In Paris, they toasted under twinkling lights, the Eiffel Tower in the distance and no paparazzi in sight. In Scotland, Morgan had pulled Kyle into a bookstore. "You ever read poetry?" she asked, handing her a small weathered volume of Mary Oliver. Only in high school, Kyle had replied with a laugh. But later that night, she flipped it open while Morgan played guitar, the words resting against the chords like prayers. And in Dublin, in a tiny pub with a roaring fire, Kyle looked over at Morgan and felt something she couldn't quite name. Not love in the way it had been sold to her over the years, but something deeper. Maybe it was understanding. Maybe it was peace. Or maybe it was just presence. And that was enough. Behind the scenes, back in LA, things returned to their regular rhythm, or as regular as it could get for a woman juggling filming, family, and fame. Morgan, on the other hand, disappeared into the studio again, her voice thick with new lyrics and late-night sessions. They texted daily, called often, and visited when they could. Sometimes they sat in silence for an hour just watching old movies. Other times, they danced barefoot in the kitchen, wine glasses half full, lyrics from Taylor Swift and Tyler Childers swirling in the air. "I like our weird little world," Morgan once said, arms folded under a hoodie, eyes half-lidded from tour exhaustion. "Me too," Kyle replied, "even if people don't get it." A shift in Season 14. Season 14 of RHOBH brought a different energy. The cast trip to Street Lucia was less drama-heavy, but the undercurrent of curiosity still followed Kyle like a shadow. During a sunset cocktail hour, Garcelle leaned over gently. "We've all noticed you're quieter this season," she said, not unkindly. "Is everything okay?" Kyle took a deep breath, her fingers curling around the rim of her glass. "There's nothing more to say right now. Maybe one day I'll have a great story to share, or maybe I won't." That was her truth, and it had to be enough. Morgan's boundary. One thing was certain, Morgan didn't want the spotlight. Her brief Season 13 appearance had been a favor to Kyle, and the whirlwind of attention that followed left her rattled. "She didn't sign up for this life," Kyle admitted at the Season 14 reunion, "and I want to respect that." The pressure had been intense, interview requests, online comments, paparazzi questions outside dive bars. For someone like Morgan, who thrived in spaces where authenticity was currency, the showbiz machine felt disorienting. "She's a real one," Kyle said, "and I don't want to be the reason she feels like she has to change." Where they stand today. It's April now, and the jacaranda trees are just beginning to bloom in Los Angeles. Kyle stands in her garden, watching the purple petals float down like confetti, and wonders how things have changed so much, yet stayed the same. Her phone buzzes with a text. "Morgan, just wrapped soundcheck. Crowd's already rowdy. Miss your face." Kyle, "Miss yours too. Knock 'em dead. Save me a song." Morgan, "Always." They still talk every day. They still laugh at inside jokes. They still send each other late-night voice memos of half-written lyrics or funny dreams. And even though the world keeps asking what they are, they remain content with simply being. A love that doesn't fit in a box. I think people want us to fit into a label, Kyle said recently in an interview that didn't make it to Bravo. But what if we're something new? What if this is a kind of connection that isn't about defining lines or status or gender or even romance? What if it's just love in its purest form? Morgan, for her part, stays quiet publicly but writes more vulnerably than ever. Her new album, tentatively titled Wilder Hearts, is filled with songs that sound like secrets and strength all at once. And yes, Kyle has heard every track. She's in there, Morgan told a Nashville reporter, tapping her heart. She's in all of it. The tattoo that still matters. The tiny K. Kyle inked on Morgan's arm hasn't faded. In fact, it's one of the few tattoos Morgan doesn't touch up. It's messy, she laughs, but it's real. That's why I like it. Just like them, messy, real, and still writing their story. Together. Apart, always connected. Epilogue, a song for the unknown. One rainy evening in April, Morgan surprises Kyle with a private performance at a small venue in Silver Lake. It's not announced. No press, just friends, family, and a few loyal fans who lucked out with tickets. Midway through the set, she strums a new melody. The room quiets. "This one's for someone who showed up when I wasn't sure I needed anyone," she says softly. It's about wild hearts, and the people who love them anyway. Kyle sits in the back, hand pressed to her chest, eyes misting just slightly. And when Morgan looks up mid-song and smiles, Kyle knows. Whatever they are, wherever this leads, they've already found something rare. And for now, that's enough.